2010, trying to put on the repeat performance. A lot of people thought he couldn't, but then started putting out some big results, taking out Sweden's Thorzane, then taking out Ukraine's White Ra last round narrowly. So can he do the same here against NightEnD and make it good NightEnD?
I don't know. I don't know. Or can NightEnD Namaste? No, it doesn't work, does it? This doesn't work. What does Namaste even mean?
I don't know at all. And it looks like the game has indeed crashed. It's time for me to put in these glasses again. We were going to start the game. It was going to be on Shakura's Plateau, so we're going to get the chance to check that game out in a moment. Now, these two players, NightEnD does tend to play a very Colossus-focused style, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be good or bad against Naama. Naama's traditional way of playing has been more tank-focused, which I think would definitely benefit quite a bit. Naama keeps kicking me from the game. There we go. I do think that benefits quite a bit against for NightEnD, but with the recent trend of being hyper-aggressive via drop, I do think that the sort of Colossus focus that NightEnD has could come back to haunt him.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Countdown has gone ahead and started up for us here. We're playing on Shakura's Plateau, map that it's given us some interesting TVPs.
I do not like it for Protoss. I have a lot of trouble in this particular circumstance trying to defend against all the Terran harassment, all those obnoxious medevacs can sneak around any side of the base.
Yep, agreed. Also, there's this open space behind the mineral line where things like Banshees can hide that can be so very annoying. But we do see here, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, the blue Terran player who's having an excellent run here at Dreamhack Winter 2011. It is Naama.
And in the top right corner, the extremely strong Warcraft 3 player. And I believe we've been seeing a lot of huge runs from other War 3 pros throughout this tournament. It is NightEnD.
Naama giving a little shout-out love there.
Dabu,
Volga Rakastai Kolomia, or something like that. Hopefully I didn't say something just terribly obscene.
Well, that could be something that happens. You know, it's always very intimidating when someone's like, hey, can you sign this? And then write the following phrase.
They just like spell it out
language.
One letter at a time.
Yeah, I've done a lot of those one at a time, writing them out. And then at the end, I hold it up and I smile and I'm saying something about donkeys. It's tragedy. But you know what? I'm happy to do it.
Anything for the fans, right, Day 9?
Absolutely. Do see NightEnD planning down his gateway on 12. A little surprised that NightEnD isn't going to be powering a little bit harder. I do think that one of the big themes that I think Protoss need to go for on this map is just big two-base aggression. I don't think that there's very comfortable ways to get 3 bases as a Protoss on this map.
Sure, yeah. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's kind of tough, even though this third base is not, you know, so far away as the crow flies from the main or from the natural. There's a lot of walking around that Colossi have to do as they can't go up that 2-tiered elevation change. So.
And it's actually interesting to see how flimsy the Colossus feels when it can't climb up and down those cliffs.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those sort of afterthought style moves that a lot of people don't quite consider because so often the Colossus is part of your main army, but the Colossus is an amazing defensive unit on most maps. But again, on this one, that third base, very ugly to try to hold.
Awkward position. And just to build on what you were saying, for a massive unit, the Colossus is so fragile. It really relies on its range and on positioning to be effective.
Naama again going for this reactor play. Will he end up going for a factory? I think not, because he actually does not have any money. Going for a 2 barracks. This is an interesting 2 barracks play by Naama. He's pulled all of those units out of gas, so it looks like he'll be getting just enough to start sneaking out some Marauders, but this is actually quite a late second barracks. You kind of need to begin that second barracks before you end up planting down the reactor on the other one, but the only thing I can think of is he's trying to throw off his opponent.
Yeah, a wild opening here from Naama in terms of taking guys off gas. In NightEnd's base, we just see the single gateway and not a whole lot else. I do like 1-gate expand on Shakura's Plateau for Protoss.
Yes.
I would like to see something like that from NightEnd, but there, I guess, are some other options as well.
Well, interestingly, Naama is going for a bunker. If we actually go to the NightEnd cam, the most interesting things are what are going on in NightEnd's brain. Based upon seeing this, seeing all these guys in gas, he's seeing this big stockpile of Marines. Naama looks like Gosh, what on earth is Naama actually doing? He's not getting the Tech Lab add-on. He's queuing up a bunch of Marines. He might just be going for a huge bust. He's trying to sneak it and make it look like he's doing a kind of 1-1-1. What we see NightEnD doing is doing the first Stargate opening I think we've seen of the entire tournament.
Oh, wow. Wow. Phoenix play was a little bit popular about 8 months ago, Day 9, around the time of, I want to say MLG Dallas. When was that? That was forever ago, it seems.
It was right around the time when the 1-1-1 was growing in popularity. Hero was doing nothing but Stalker Void Ray, ripping people apart, and it looks like Naama might have something cheesy planned. What is going on in Naama's mind? This is so weird, and incidentally, I think it may end up working. This is just so, this is like the slowest 1-1-1 ever. It's like I'm going to get a barracks, I'm going to get another barracks, and once I'm getting Marines, then I'm going to get the factory.
2-1, second gas, 1. I don't know. Yeah, I'm confused too. It's mostly by this single add-on on the barracks. There goes a command center going to go down now. So...
Oh, God, this is going to backfire so hard for NightEnD.
Yeah.
What a wild opening by Naama.
Phoenix openings is so good against so many things. I find Phoenix is quite good against things like 1-1-1. But with this many Marines out, the Phoenixes are going to have a really hard time doing much damage. Tech Lab on that factory, so I guess siege tanks coming?
Yeah, Naama is a big believer in siege tanks in this matchup. We see him doing all sorts of funky pushes where he goes Viking, siege tank, Marine with even just a small number of Marauders. And now I see the Phoenix is starting to step forward. They're not really going to get the best scout because these Marines are in a dangerously good position. And oh, NightEnD amazingly doesn't even really take that much life damage.
So Naama is using call down supply with his orbital energy. You think he's making mistakes, or is this worked into this very unique build?
Oh, one Phoenix gets taken out, and we see NightEnD feeling very confused, and given the fact that we do only have 3 gateways out right now, I do think NightEnD will likely begin going for that Colossus tech, just because when you are confused and see a lot of Marines, Colossus tech gonna almost always be a good decision.
Yeah, it's like the universally safe unit to have. Big Marine push moving across the center of the map right now, and NightEnD does not have much Day 9. I see 2 Stalkers, I see 2 Sentries. I'm not, I guess there's a 3rd Stalker there. Can he defend this expansion from this many Marines?
I think that he's going to be comfortable if he just gets 1 or 2 more rounds of Warpins. I think the big danger of those when the tank count gets high, weirdly enough, we do have Phoenixes here, so the Graviton Beam can absolutely help against that. But it looks like Naama is just going to go straight for the Nexus, and here comes some units from NightEnD, but he needs to rearrange this Elixir in the back. That's going to be key in this battle.
Naama, what are you going to do? He is going to continue poking away at that Nexus. There's a lot of Protoss units here. There's the Guardian Shield. There's a Siege Tank in the mix as well. Stim and Siege Mode are pretty close. This push would be a lot better if those upgrades would just finish.
Oh, he just needs a few more seconds, and now he's pulled far enough away that he has decided it is time to engage some nice stutter step micro. The classic stutter step from Naama doing a lot of damage, but with these lifts, it looks like, oh no, Naama loses all of his forces right as the key upgrades finish up.
Yeah, that was kind of a rout, quite frankly. The push looked a lot stronger than I guess it was. Unupgraded Marines, a little bit uninspiring when Guardian Shield is in play. Bunker is going down at Naama's front, so he's not going to just die to a counter. The supply is also pretty close, 56 to 62. So in spite of the fact that the first army of Naama has been lost, he's not out of this thing at all. 36 workers to 33.
Do you see NightEnD comfortably rebuilding himself? Has that very sort of odd couple of Phoenixes thrown in there. These might seem like useless units. Well, if they start flying into Marines, they might rapidly become less useful, Mr. Bitter. But, you know, I would say in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, a lot of times having a couple of Phoenixes means that you're not going to be so strong in the mid game. They can't really have much use. But in this particular circumstance, these Phoenixes have a lot of benefit. The ability to pick off medevacs. Suddenly, medevac harass going to be much less likely and easier to manage. All these tanks suddenly much easier to lift and track down and pick off. So I actually love the position that NightEnD is in. I do think he needs to be careful about trying to risk doing a large bust at this point.
Oh, Phoenix is getting ushered out once again. Those Marines have stemmed a lot already, down to 25 hit points. The medevac is going to pop out shortly, though, so they'll be able to begin healing up. 45 workers as the Phoenixes do poke in here. Two Immortals there, some Zealots, and a few sentries with some force field energy.
Great play there by NightEnD, trying to do any damage he can. Of course, if you go to the units lost tab, look at how many are down for Naama right now. Naama is rebuilding up a very strong force, and I will say on this map in particular, I like siege tanks. Oh, NightEnD is going to make a huge blunder. Siege tanks do get lifted, but Naama is going to have absolutely no difficulty at all defending this. NightEnD retreats after taking some hideous losses.
Yeah, for a round of 8 match, this game's looking kind of silly. Big stim, double stim on the Marines
stim,
there.
Uh-oh, but it is done. Does not really even matter. We see NightEnD. Ooh, wow. Those Marines really did a lot of damage to themselves there.
Oh, a third stim going down there. Stalkers are going to just shred units at this point. Oh, Immortal gets focused down. That was a mistake by NightEnD. And, ooh. So.
Does look like NightEnd's going to be pulling back. We'll be going for the Colossus play, now getting down the forges. This suddenly seems very worrisome for our Protoss player who was originally in such a strong position. I like siege tanks in particular on this map because it is so helpful to just have 1 or 2 siege tanks here. You can be barely in range of the Nexus and then not really in range of much else. Marines on the low ground going to be so helpful to pick off all those Immortals and Stalkers to try to poke up. The only thing that's really dangerous are the Colossi. But I really will say Naama has a ton of experience in this situation. Look at how many Marines he is building, and those siege tanks are going to be key.
Extended Thermal Lance just about to finish. There are 2 Colossi on the field. I hear a drop loading up, and the Phoenixes they're not on the map anymore. So the medevac is going to all of a sudden become very scary. It's a real threat now. So this drop going to be moving around the top half of the map. There is a single Colossus, a couple Stalkers, and a Zealot in a decent position to deal with it. A probe going to go out and just check and see are there any other expansions anywhere. This probe. I guess it could have run right under the medevacs, but just barely missing them.
See, NightEnD, by being such a Colossus-focused player, is really good at positioning his units in a way to be able to defend. It's very easy to kind of go into defensive mode, go into autopilot mode and start flying all your Colossus into one big 1A troop group. But it looks like NightEnD already aptly prepared for this push.
Yes, the drop is right there in the back of the base. NightEnD sees it, so he's just going to reposition his army, warp in a couple more Stalkers. Look at everything that NightEnd's doing off of just 2 bases, Day 9. He's getting charged. He's got the Stargate. He's got double upgrades. He's getting Colossi. He's adding extra gateways. He's doing so much on 2 bases that his 2-base army looks kind of small to me.
Yeah, I really think it was the loss of that early push. I will say, though, MC does a very similar style, very effectively. It looks like here's a drop from Naama. He's got to be careful. Oof. Does take some strong damage, but look at this. Naama sneaking down by the south watchtower. I don't think this Zealot really sees very much at all coming. Oh, no. Oh, amazing tactical play by Naama. I mean, NightEnD has absolutely no idea that this push is even here, and now the bunkers are getting planted.
Oh, Siege Tank in a pretty good position there. Naama's just going to start leapfrogging forward. He's up to 132 supply against just 115. He does have the larger army by quite a large margin. Oh my gosh, that's a much larger army, Day 9.
Look at all those little worker ants making their way towards the other base. A lot of Zealots on the high ground taking some significant damage. These 2 medevacs still loaded up. Got to be careful with those Colossi, taking some damage. At the same time, the Marine mixture of Naama is so fragile, but here's the drop at the back of the main. Naama now seizing control of this game. And he manages to escape with 4 hit points, but it doesn't mean that he is safe by any means.
NightEnd's starting to warp in behind this push as if he wants to set up a big flank. He's going to need a few more rounds of units for that to really work. Charge is done, though. It's going to allow these Zealots to close on these siege tanks very quickly. Look at all the bunkers that Naama is throwing up. I think this is so smart.
Brilliant play. Those Marines weak versus almost every part of NightEnd's army, but in those bunkers, they can manage to do that max damage for so much longer. The Marine stimming, picking off all of these probes, the very unusual style of Naama, showing so much success in last year's Dreamhack, making a repeat performance here at Dreamhack Winter 2011.
Yep, the big flank coming up here from NightEnD. He does kill a couple of siege tanks, and a lot of damage coming from this army at the top of the ramp. Oh, the siege tanks have all been killed. There's only a few Marines left, and Marines against Colossi, that's a mismatch, Day 9.
But Naama has managed to do another drop in the back of the main base. Needs to select what he really wants to push against NightEnd Zealots, tearing everything apart. It looks like a full retreat is in order for Naama, but not before doing a lot of damage to this probe line. The single Colossus having so many kills racked up. Looks like Naama decides that now is the time to retreat, and we see a weird exchange of workers killed off from these 2 players. I actually think that NightEnD might be in a comfortable enough position to maybe take a win here.
Yeah, he's going to make a bit of a counter push. He has one Colossus on the field, but the army of NightEnD, or I'm sorry, the army of Naama is only Marines, and Colossi are going to be very good against that. A single siege tank does pop out. He's also got a couple of Vikings, so he's not completely defenseless against the Colossi. Third base has gone down for NightEnD. I find it really interesting that the first thing he does after cleaning up that push is take a third.
That is actually a brilliant move by NightEnD. He's really kind of showing how comfortable he is in this situation. That even though that push literally almost killed off everything he had, not a big deal. He knew that he just needed one strong strike, and he was in a clear lead position. Especially if you see your opponent relying on those siege tanks, you know he can't move out to attack very aggressively after he's lost his position.
Templar Archive is finishing up for NightEnD as he comes back to clean up the last of this drop. That one medevac with 4 hit points is still alive. Oh, no, it's not. No longer.
Looks like he is complete fresh out of medevacs. Naama with his characteristic excess of producing structures on 2 bases. Well, I guess excess is the wrong word, but normally, ooh, nice hot pick up there. Normally when you have about 5 barracks, it means you have enough money to build units and do other things like expand or tech. Naama very much so dedicates to the 2 base.
Templar Tech is being added here. A couple Archons already down here in the bottom left-hand or bottom right-hand expansion. No Storm research just yet. Looks like it's going to be a big switch into Zealot Archon Day 9.
And you know, I like this play. He's really saying we're both so low on money. My Zealot Archon is going to be way better than whatever you can muster together on 2 bases. And here comes Naama.
Naama.
Ooh, he really doesn't like having those workers do much work at all.
Is this necessary? Why is he pulling all these workers?
Oh my gosh, it looks like Naama wants to end this game now, has no confidence in the late game, is just going to go for it, and there it looks like the Colossus needs to pick that one off quickly.
The workers are all at the back. That's not even remotely good. Archons are doing a lot of splash damage to all this bio. Workers finally starting to get in the fray. Naama bringing more SCVs across the middle of the map.
Wow.
Actually cleaning up NightEnd's army here, and it's only Stalkers against Marine Marauder SCV.
Oh no, the Templar Archives. When that falls, it means it will be just those basic units for NightEnD. He will not be able to replenish Zealot Archon. After an insanely aggressive play by Naama, he has essentially committed himself to all-in mode.
The thing is, Nama's got all his SCVs fighting right here. He doesn't need to be worrying about killing things like expansions. He needs to be killing things like gateways, armies, and infrastructure.
Yeah, brilliant point. I mean, you kill expansions because you want the economic lead, but Naama is in a very tenuous position. His army splitting in half in a very odd fashion. We do see one tank sieging up. It will manage to get one shot off maybe on the Stalker.
Naama, why are you fighting in the middle of the map when you're not mining?
Naama, I think, realized that if he can pick this army off, he will have a clear chance at victory. There's all the SCVs slowly falling down, but not a single bit of the army is getting eliminated. It looks like NightEnD is in a complete retreat mode, and upon seeing all these units, we're seeing, interestingly, some late-game sentries from NightEnD hoping to force field, keep himself alive just a smidge longer.
There is a couple of really nice force fields down there at the bottom of that ramp. Siege Tank is probably just going to go into siege mode. Yes, he does. And the next push up this ramp is going to be a really scary one.
There's one force field planting down. We see again that Archon managing to do some big hits, and another stim from Naama. Look at the health of his units. NightEnD barely might kill off this final push, and here's the engagement. All the probes come in. This one siege tank, the hero, at the back, dealing a lot of damage. It looks like all the Marauders are starting to kite everything. The probes picking off a good number of Marauders in their own right, and amazingly, the final battle leaves NightEnD at almost 20 food, now under 20 food, and there is the good game. And another miracle win from Naama.
What a bizarre game we just saw.
Bizarre indeed. I mean, a lot of the